You grew a company to $16.4 million in revenue, and then you sold it for multi seven figures. How did you feel after you did it?
Man, so I just felt a mix of emotions. I felt massive achievement, massive relief, and I just felt like I'd finally ended this huge life-changing chapter. Because when I started that business, I was in my parents' spare room with like 3, 4, 5, 6K to my name and a negative net worth, you know? And then when I sold the company, I was in Dubai, multi-millionaire, loads of cash, loads of real estate, loads of accolades, loads of experience. So it just felt like I've done it and now I can go and do it again and kind of start fresh with everything that I've learned, you know? So it was just like all the best emotions
Mm.
in one go.
And you exited it. Like you were able to sell a company that how many people you're one of the only 3 people I think in the world that I know of that was able to actually sell a like e-learning course like company. How? Who else has done it? I think too Alex Ramosi and the other guy, right?
Yeah, so Alex Hormozi sold gym loans to a private equity firm. Sam Ovens sold consulting.com to really a private buyer. And then, yeah, I mean, we are down from Alex Hormozi. We were the only kind of online course company that's ever sold to private equity. Yeah, so one of two, technically.
Did you ever think it was possible while you were building it? Like a private equity firm would like buy this? Did you ever think it would be possible?
Well, so the way that this all happened, right? I used to be in a mastermind in England with a guy called Dan Bradbury. And it was a financial literacy mastermind. So it was all about accounting and P&Ls and cash flow and investing your money well and building your business properly and stuff. And I was having, I think it was the second ever time that I went to that mastermind, and we were having lunch, and Dan so casually said to me, "So when do you think you'll sell this company?" And I was like, "I can't sell it. You know, it's an online course business. It's named after me. You can't sell these businesses." And he said, "Well, you can sell any business. The only kind of thing that changes is the buyer and the price. So if you've got a business with massive key man risk, low profits, disorganized, not built very well, not very valuable, you can still sell it, but you might sell it for 50 grand to a guy, a random guy out there. So not a very good price and not a very good buyer. Or on the other hand, if you build this thing properly, you remove yourself, you largely remove the key man risk, you take your face out of it, you hire a great team, you structure it properly, you'll sell to a better buyer for a better price." And that dinner, I'll never forget it. I can see it so clearly in my mind, still sat at that table with Dan. And that changed my life, really,
Yeah.
because that just planted the seed in my head. Right, I can sell this business. The buyer may be this, maybe that. The price may be this, maybe that. But I can sell this thing. And that was like the moment that kind of planted that seed in my head. And through working with Dan, he was the one that helped me in the end structure it for sale, find an M&A advisor who helped me find the buyer, who held my hand through the process.
Is he the one you did the podcast with that he was running it through? There was like online podcast you did with him?
No,
Is that the one? Or there was someone else I think you did it with. He was the person who also run you through and helped you like basically set it in structure or how to deal with the private equity firm. I think something like that.
yeah, I've never done a podcast yet with Dan. Dan is actually speaking at my
Someone
mastermind in
else.
October,
Yeah.
but it was really thanks to Dan planting that seed in my head.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, I read all the books on how to sell your business. I watched all the podcasts on people that have sold their businesses, and I just slowly learned, you know.
Yeah.
And it was about 4 years after that dinner with Dan that we ended up exiting. So there was a lot of work done. There was a lot of
It's a lengthy
changes made.
process.
You
Yeah.
know, it was a big process. And even when we went to sell, it took from, so I rehired Dan to mentor me through the sale. I think that was November 2023. And then we sold, no, it wasn't. It was November 2022. And then we sold in September 2023. I think it was. So
Yeah.
it was a long process.
Because they check everything. Many people think they're like, oh yeah, we just go buy the company. It's like, no, they have to check every document, every single thing that was done,
Oh.
make sure everything's right. And this is the funny thing I learned through talking to someone else that sold a lot of companies, is that initially they do this offer, and then through the checking the documents and everything, they're negotiating as it goes on. People don't know this. And the bigger the guy who's buying and the bigger the firm, the more they have these techniques. Because they take you in, they're like, oh, we're gonna buy your company for this much. And as it goes on, they're like, wait, we're done with this. What's going on? You're still, it's one of those things.
Well, yeah.
How did you build the business? How did you build this business? Like, how did it all begin before you even got to selling? How?
Well, you're completely right. Just before I answer that,
Yeah.
on the exit process. So I remember we signed what's called an LOI in April of 2023, I think it
Mm.
was. And that's called a letter of intent. And that's them just saying, we want to buy it. These are the rough terms. It's not a legally binding contract. And then fast forward the months, this thing happened, that thing happened. In the end, we almost didn't sell. We were about 10 days before we were meant to complete and signed the final APA, the asset purchase agreement. And they found, right, they've been doing due diligence for like 6 months. And the last week, they found a few errors in some past P&Ls. And it basically changed the original valuation slightly. They ended up knocking off like 300K, 400K from the final price.
Yeah.
And they were basically like, take it or leave it. You know, you can either take the lower price or we'll walk away. And I was like, take the lower price. Let's go. I have no problem with that.
Smart moves.
But-
Exactly. Even Alex Hormozy talked about this. It's like,
Yeah.
or was it Mark Cuban? He's like, they're like, why you could have sold it for $1 billion? It's like, man, I sold it for 800 million. Like I just get the thing done with, and then you'd have to go through another process with another.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Dude, I could not say. I remember saying this to Dominic, my M&A advisor. I was like, if this doesn't go through, I don't think I can do this again. You know, this whole, because it was April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, so it's about just above 6 months of
Yeah.
due diligence. So it was a long process. But anyway, we sold, we closed, and it was like happy days,
Yeah.
you know. And you've probably seen the YouTube video that I made the day that I got on the wire.
Yeah.
Right? And you
Yeah.
can see it was a sense of like happiness and achievement, but also calm. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's done.
It's
You know,
done.
let's go and build the next thing. But to answer your question, man, you know, how did that business even kind of get built? I didn't have a clue what I was doing. You know, I just slowly learned and messed around. And when you have a problem, you scramble around for a solution, and eventually it all comes together over time, right?
But you started as I believe you were trading at that time. That's how it began. And you've said the story on the other podcast before. But when it comes to actually scaling a business, you know, coming and taking to the next level, how did you do that? You didn't have the past experience. What made you want to keep going? Most these people, let's be honest, you know, you live in Dubai and like they make a couple of like thousands and stuff, and then they go start spending it. But you're always on the right page. You're always doing things the right way. How'd you do that?
Well, this is something that I've learned over the years. Like, when you learn how to make 50K, let's say a month, and you're like, oh, wow, I can make 50K. I wonder if I can make 100. And then you go for the 100, you get the 100. It's like, oh, whoa, I can do 100 a month. I wonder if I can do 200 a month. And then you get 200 a month, and you're like, oh my God, maybe we could do 500 a month. And it just never ends, man. It's just like, I remember when I sold my business, I bought another apartment in this building downstairs, right? And I remember saying to my girlfriend, that's my dream apartment. I can't wait to buy it and live in it. We moved in. And then a few months later, she was like, so what are we going to do like when we have children? And what are we going to do when friends want to come and stay? And I was like, oh no, right. This is no longer my dream apartment. Now we need a 4-bed.
Yeah.
And then we bought this 4-bed that we're in right now. And now I want a villa. So it's just never ending.
It's never ending. It keeps on going, you know?
Yeah.
What was the point? So let's say you were consistently, like, did you reach a point where you're initially making, let's say, 30K per month? And then you're stuck there, and what made the next jump? Like, what was the number that you were consistently on? And then you had to do something to make the jump.
Yeah. I'll tell you the story of how this kind of all happened, because
Yeah.
it will answer the question well. So I used to just do music, which maybe we can talk about later,
Yeah.
and trade on the side. And this was back in, I think, either 2017 or 2018, right? And I had a Twitter account with like 200 followers, so no online presence at all, barely. And one day I got a random message from one of the followers, and he said, look, you know, someone told me that you're doing very well with your trading. Please, can you help me? Like, how can you help me? And he ended up being my first ever e-learning customer. So he PayPal'd me £50 or $50, whatever it was, came to my house, my parents' house, right? And we did a session together for like 2-3 hours, and he sat next to me whilst I kind of did what I was doing, and he made notes on a Word document. And that was my first ever sale, $50, and someone came to my house, right? I wouldn't recommend that. It's not very scalable. But then he made this Word document, and he gave me a copy of the Word document. And I just thought, I wonder if anyone else would give me money to let me just tell them stuff, because it felt like the easiest money in the world.
Yeah.
So I messaged a few other followers and said, hey, Wissam came to my house and he was really happy with it and blah, blah, blah. Would you like this kind of Word document? It's $50. A few people bought it. I was like, wow, like people will just give me money for just information. And I have no idea about courses or coaching or info businesses. No idea, man.
And it felt good because he appreciated it. You're like, man, this guy spent time, and he was teaching me, and it felt good.
It truly felt like free money. Someone would give me money and I just tell them stuff. I was like, this is insane, man. But anyway, that was the first year. Again, I think it was 2018 that this happened. And that year I made about 24 grand, right? From selling first the Word document, and then those few people gave me feedback. Then it became like a longer ebook. And then I put like images in there and made it just bigger and better, raised the price to like $100 to $200 to $300 to $500. Then I made some videos in a Dropbox folder to go along with it. So the quality of the product came together. The price kind of slowly went up. And that first year I made about 24K. Right? And then I kind of just figured it out. I thought, right, people are buying this. If I make it better, they'll pay more money. So I kept making it better. I kept raising the price. And in the second full year, I'd made about £250,000. I think it was like 240K, right? From selling what was then a full-blown online course, which I really made a thing, and I made a website, and I made a kind of company name and stuff. And I realized like, this is a thing. This is its own business, like an education business.
That's a big jump too.
Yeah. So it just kind of slowly, the customers said, why isn't this in there? Or why is there no videos? Can you do some coaching with us? So they helped me make the product better. As the product got better, I raised the price. As I made it better, I got more sales. So it all just slowly came together, right? And then towards the end of that second year, I was DJing in London and I saw an ad, a YouTube ad from a guy called Alex Becker, right? And
I love Alex Becker. He's actually one of the reasons I made that big money. But we'll get into it after you go on. Remind me after you go on. Alex Becker.
And I remember this so clearly, man. I was sat in the hotel room. I was on my laptop and I saw the ad, and it was like, oh, if you sell courses, you can learn how to run ads to them and get way more sales.
Was he wearing shades?
No, he wasn't wearing shades. No, he was in his old like garage with his Lamborghini behind him, like way back in the day. And yeah, I booked a call. And then a few days later, I bought his mastermind. I think it was like 8K for his Iron Mastermind.
Yeah.
And then I learned what a sales funnel was. I learned what paid ads were. I learned how to like write them and make them and run them. I learned what one of those fake live webinars is, right?
Yeah.
That third year, we made about 1.3 million, right? So we went from about 24K year one, 240K year two, 1.3 million year three. And that jump, to go back to your question, that jump there was pretty much just paid ads. It was just running YouTube ads into a webinar with a $2,000 product at the end of it. And that was what really started to change the game and started to change my life.